When your drive comes up, you should see some type of a folder. If you're on a PC, it does something similar to what a Mac does. You should be able to find your folder somehow or your drive somehow. Now, what I want us to first do, has anybody stored anything on their externals yet? Has anybody dragged any files from anywhere and put it on their external? Okay. Are your files, any files that you have on there, you're going to want to drag on your computer before we do what we're doing next? Okay. Now listen, everything that we do in this class, I would keep on this external hard drive. Like I said before, if I haven't said it before, all the stuff that we're going to do is going to start taking up some space. You need space free on your computer. I'd say probably at least 100 gigs so it can help move quickly. And storing anything that we do in this class on your hard drive is going to start taking up some of that space. So store that on your external hard drive, and that's why I had all you purchase that. So on your external hard drive, I want you to, we're going to reformat it. I'm not going to lie, I don't know how to do it on a PC. But I will definitely find a video that explains it on a PC. There's nothing wrong with PCs. I just don't use them. And, now it just seems like So if you're on a Mac, I can help you right here because you can follow along with what I'm doing. So I want you to go to your apps. If you're on a Mac, we're going to go down to utilities. And then we're going to go down to disk utility. Now make sure you select the drive over here in the side menu. And then what we're going to do is we're going to reformat these to make sure that we can use them. And I'll let you decide how you want to do it, but to make sure it's formatted correctly. If you plan to use your computer on a Mac and a PC, when you reformat it, it needs to be exFAT, E-X-F-A-T. If you're only planning on using it on a Mac, then we go to Mac OS Extended Journal. If your drive is already formatted to where you want it, you don't need to do this step. Okay? Huh? So exFAT here is if we want to use our external drive on either a PC or a Mac. If you plan to go back and forth. Some of you never will, and that's fine. If you never plan to go back, then Mac OS Extended here, Journal, is what we'll use. Again, if yours is already formatted how you want it, then you don't need to do this. But here, you'll select what you want, and then you'll go to Erase. And in doing that, before you do this, make sure that you have the correct drive selected. Do not select your hard drive or anything else. Make sure it's your external hard drive. If y'all start erasing your hard drives now, there's going to be some panicking and crying. So select it, select Erase, and then it'll reformat it for you. Are there any questions on that? Okay. Is everybody ready to go from here? If you have questions, you're more than welcome to ask. If not, you're more than welcome to ask after class. Now, one thing I didn't tell y'all to grab if you don't have an SD card reader on your laptops, I've provided y'all one in your case. It's in a little zip pocket and it looks like this. It's USB. If you don't have a little slot that looks something like this little thin one in the middle here on your laptop, grab this adapter out of your camera cases. No, you're all right. So make sure you have a SD card reader. If you don't, grab the adapter. Yes. Go to your apps, but you're going to have to find it when you go through your apps. Go to utilities, like up here, and then go to disk utility. All right, so now what we're going to do is if you're using the adapter, you can plug it into your USB. But I want you to plug in your SD cards so we can start taking files off. Nothing about that. It's a technical way of playing with that. Yeah. Stop beating that thing. There's two sides. If you try to put it in and it's not going in, flip it. All right? If there's a little resistance, sometimes it's good, but there's a lot of resistance. Don't go and just shove it in. So make sure you plug it in, and you should get a little SanDisk drive on your laptop or on your desktop when you do it. You working out some stress there, Ron? No, I'm actually adding on. I don't know if that'll solve your problem, but it'll be at least entertaining.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think my fourth man. Hoping that's what I was not actual hard drive. Right here. I don't know why they would.
Got you in a sec. All right, so it may come up as a little card that's white and blue. Mine came up as a folder this time. Either way, as long as something comes up, that's all that matters. Maybe whatever you want. Is that in mine? Oh, I've been missing one. I can't find one. Sure. Oh, you know what? All right, let me get you back here. All right, so Whenever you get either the card or get a folder, I want you to double click and open it. Then I want you to go and double click and open DCIM. And then double click and open 100 Canon. And then what you should see is all the files that are on that drive. Go find your files first. Hey, listen. I'd recommend you putting it in this view where it's an icon view and not a list view so you can actually see. Don't worry about dates. Just find your footage that matches. So you should have a folder that's open like this, correct? Now I want you to double click and open your external hard drive. And then I want you, I'd create in here, I'd probably create a folder that says Premiere Pro. And then drag all your footage over here into that folder. We're going to talk about file management today as well because the way Premiere Pro works is by linking files. Meaning if something moves, if you move or delete something, it will affect your final project. So we're going to go ahead in the beginning, create our folder, our file system. That way everything goes where it goes and we won't be moving after we put it there. Okay? So right now I just want you to drag your footage, put it on your external hard drive. Each person in your group needs to do that. So after you do that, go over and right click and eject your external hard drive, or for your PC, I think you go down to the bottom right. There's usually a little green booyah and you click it and click on the drive and it'll eject it. The reason you eject it correctly is so it doesn't mess up any of your files. Although my old mentor used to say it didn't matter, it needs to be yanked right out. So if it doesn't matter and it works, then you're good to go. Erase it. Get on your laptop. If you don't have your external hard drive for some reason, put all your files on your desktop. I would still create folders and all that organization down there, and all you have to do is take that one folder, drag it onto your external. I can't stress organizing your files enough so things don't get unlinked and so you can find stuff. So let everybody do that right now, please. What? The adapter? Right here. Make sure you zip that back up. Hey, don't worry about Open Premiere Pro right now. Focus on the other things. We're going to make steps, then we'll go through that process. If you have it open, please close it. I promise you'll get to see all the fancy things.
So what I'm doing, because I don't have extra hard drive yet, because I just need to get this out.
Yeah. But make sure you create your system on your computer.
Okay.
No. No. You'll take this out. Leave this. We're going to be working. No, do not eject your external hard drive. Only eject the SD card. If you heard it, it's likely that someone else heard it.
You did say so.
Well, you need to read my mind.
Because I was like,
That's what I'm saying.
where's this complication? But it's fine.
After you confirm that your footage is on your computers, erase it off of the SD card. All right. Some of you will notice that there's probably old footage on there, and we need to delete all that. So feel free to select all of it, right-click, delete, and into your trash can. After the whole group gets your file, yes. Good call, Andy. Good call.
We can give it to someone here. Give them all.
Huh?
We can give them. Somebody's not here.
Yes, yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Okay, I'm already addicted somehow. Or just, eject it, it don't matter,
Yeah. It wasn't. It wasn't. You give it to Jay or Ian. So you can go over here, right click. Yeah. Sir. Micro USB.
I think I went up. I'm just gonna Best Buy after this.
Let's check. You can try to use one of mine. They're big files. So. SD card.
SD card.
So we didn't switch
Okay,
around.
we are fine or just talk to you.
Where's the SD card?
We're able to use our laptop.
Alright, will they get it? We'll play with it. There you go. I really need to take that approach.
Yeah.
Break it.
Whoa.
Remember, you can select them, copy, and then paste them into your new folder all at once. Where's that at?
Yeah.
Hey, once you've taken everything off, put your SD cards back in the camera. All right, who's not done here? All right. This is the controller, right? What I want you to do is open it vertically. You've already erased it. Well, because it'll erase all the files. Did you put on your external? Or should you put it?
It's all over
Come here, Ashley. All right, so pretend like this is the folder.
Okay.
Go find it. Close photos when it opens like that. Don't do that, okay? Go find your footage. And you're going to use all of y'all's footage is
It's all ours.
this plus this. So we're going to copy it and we're going to paste it.
Okay.
Don't delete. Don't do it through. Hey,
I
if
already did that.
if you're on a Apple, do not go through photos. Okay? Go open the folder like I showed you. Double click, find it, copy and paste. When you start going through photos, we're not putting it in photos. Okay? That is a way to download stuff. We're just not doing it that way. And then it could cause some problems. All right. Hey, Ashley, just make sure y'all pay close attention to that. So today it's good because I had your footage. Next time it won't be. There's a way to do it. You're just adding a few extra steps in a different way. All right, we're good. Put your SD cards back in your camera. All right. All right, so let me get your attention real quick. All right, so I want to reemphasize something real quick. What did we say about when you put the cameras up? What needs to be done? Batteries out of your lapel mics and everything needs to put up correctly, right? All right, so Thursday when we got done with class, we had cameras put away like this. Not only did we not have the batteries taken out of the lapel mics, they were still on. All right, so the equipment we have costs money. Take care of it. If this becomes a problem, some of you will not be able to use these cameras. You'll have to use your own stuff. All right, so this is a small lecture to say, take care of stuff just like it's your own. A year ago, we didn't have this equipment. It can go away just as fast as we got it. Good to go? All right. One last thing. I want to do these announcements before I forget. Your video scripts. We've already started looking at those. You're going to notice that the grading rubrics changed versus the one you initially got. This is so it could be a little bit more clear, but more importantly, it's so we're not taking points off in multiple categories, and so you can see exactly where your points are being lost. This doesn't change anything. The same things would have been deducted normally. It's just it's a little bit more clear on where they're being deducted from. All right, and so they're also not being double deducted. All right, so I know that's usually a concern to some students. That'd be a concern if I was a student as well. But just know this is so we can be clear and a little bit more objective on our grading. Are there any questions on that? I apologize for having to change it after the fact, but I realized once we got to grading that there was some problems that need to be fixed. Also, starting today, a lot of you already know what B-roll you need, correct? I'd recommend y'all start capturing that now. If you can capture your B-roll without feedback on your video script, I'd start doing that. That takes time, and I would do that now. You should have all the feedback on your video scripts by Thursday, and then you'll definitely need to start doing interviews and things like that. I just want to give you a heads up. Starting today, I would already start capturing my B-roll if that's possible, and doing that. Again, make sure you coordinate that with your partners in your group. That way you both don't need it at the same time, especially when it comes to interviews. Any questions on that one? Okay. We go.
Is there a better way to capture if you're just, somebody's just going to speak and that's all that they're going to do and they're going to show pictures or video of something else? Is there a better way to capture that speaking part as opposed to doing it through that camera setup? Is there some way to do it directly to the computer or to the?
If I wanted to capture just a narration, I don't need any footage, then I would still take the camera and the lapel mic. I wouldn't set the camera up, but I would attach the lapel mic to them, have them do whatever narration or talking they need to do, and then I'll show you how we'll edit it today or Thursday, depending how far we get, how you can edit that to get rid of the video that you won't be using, but still keep the audio. So I would still recommend it doing that way. There are other ways, but that's a good way, and you'll still get pretty good sound with that.
But you did say
Yes. Any other questions? Okay. So the first thing I want us to do, let's open up Premiere Pro. If you've never opened it, it'll throw some little things at you. But make sure you actually open the app. Then you need to double click and go into this this file itself. And then it'll start opening. This is going to be labor intensive on your computer, so be prepared for that. Some of you will have brand new computers and it'll move quickly. Some of you won't, and you just have to be a little bit more patient. Everybody should roughly be at this screen. And if y'all just opened it for the first time, what's it showing you? Are some of y'all seeing this? Okay, if you're seeing that, that's fine. You'll just jump when we start doing the new project. After you open it the first time, you may not see that again. And so you may come up just this screen. So the first thing I want us to do is create new project. And then I want you to name it. So what's our topic? I think it's back to UT. So I'm going to name it that. That way, anything else I create, it's clear. Back to UT. So write in what you're going to title your video. And then I want you to go over here and let's select Browse. We're going to immediately tell the computer exactly where we want it to save. So go find your external hard drives. In your Premiere Pro folder. And then press Choose. And then it should save. If you go open that folder up on your computer, you should see, well, after we do okay, as I was. Other than that, we're not going to change any of these settings. Make sure your capture format's HTV. And that'd be the only thing I would change. So everybody here? If you're not there, raise your hand. All right.
I had to click on it.
Okay. Hey, if you're at this stage, press OK. Press OK, you should get to the normal layout. Go to your app. It may be, hey, who has a PC that's open? Where'd you find it? The actual program? Premiere Pro. Yeah, but all right. Let me get your eyes back up here. Okay, so this is what you should see, right? This is the basic workspace that you're going to get in Premiere Pro. Before we get playing into this, let's go back to our external hard drive. Open it up. Go find where your footage is at so you have something like this. Correct? Bunch of files in there. This is what I'd recommend you do, and this is what I'm going to do to organize my files. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put B-roll. I'm going to make a folder that's labeled B-roll. I'm going to make a folder that's labeled interviews. I'll do another one that's audio. And then I'll make another one that's images. You do not have to do it like this, but I found this to be an easy way to organize things, to find it, especially when you capture a ton of B-roll and a ton of things like that. It's easier to organize it. And then I want you to start dragging your files into those folders if you decided to create those. You should have received something from me, a notification on Canvas, to a link that goes to our OneDrive folder for the class. Periodically through the semester, I'm going to be downloading files in there for lecture. And so right now, there's 3 files in there for you. There's 1 image and there's 2 audio files. So click on that through Canvas, and it's in the announcements, and download that image and those 2 audio files. And then just start organizing your files. If it's audio, put it in audio. B-roll, put in B-roll. If it's your interview, throw it in your interview folder and all that. So where you have it something like this. Again, if you go to Canvas, click on that link. It'll take you to OneDrive. And it'll say, Alec, 330, 532 files. Go in here. It'll be Premiere Pro. And then download these 2 audios and that 1 image and put those in your folders. When they're all done, announcements. So the announcements, it'll say OneDrive folder link, click on it, and then the link will take you right to there.
So these can go directly into Premiere Pro.
Yes. Those 3 files you downloaded directly into your Premiere Pro folder on your external hard drive. I did. For those 2 audio clips, yeah, I'd put those in there because that's just going to be our A-roll. Make sure you're signed in with your UT credential. Huh? Does anybody else having problems accessing those files? No. Yeah, grab something right now. I don't know why. Just feel like you're special, I guess.
What do you do?
Once you download them, drag them into the appropriate folder. So if you have an image folder, audio folder. Does everybody have one of these sheets? You good? Okay. All right, so let's take a look at this Premiere Pro workspace. Take out your handout that I gave you. This is going to be helpful as I describe things through lecture. I'm going to refer to these different sections of your workplace as they're labeled here. Up here on the top part of this workspace, you're going to see different types of workspaces you can choose. The standard I would go through is editing because that's what we're going to be doing. So this will be our basic interface that we'll be using. Our left over here is our source monitor. The video that we've captured that we want to view before we put it in our video, we'll do it right here. Anything in your program monitor, that's actually what's in your video. So as you go through and anything you see in here and you view, that means it's actually in your video. Over here in your source monitor, it's not. Then we have our project panel down on the left. This is where you're going to access your files as well as some of your effects and different things like that. You'll notice that there's tabs. The project is the files that'll be in that we'll be using or that have been imported into Premiere Pro to this file. Our media browsers, how we'll find some of the media on our computer that we've captured, so our footage. And then effects is the other one that we'll use. And we'll go through these three throughout the course of when we talk about video editing. Over here on the right is our timeline. This is actually going to show you everything that's in the video, file for file. And then up top in here, and you'll see it says playhead. We'll move our playhead back and forth, and that's just a certain point on our timeline. It's not showing yet because we don't have any media. Any questions on that? That's just a basic run through of all the different places on our workspace. So the first thing I want us to do is we have a couple ways we can bring in files. Our first way is media browser. So go down here in your project panel to the left and then find your external hard drive and go find your folder. And the first thing I want to do is I want to input my interview. Now's the time to put your headphones in your computers. If you don't have them, borrow, see if someone else has extra pairs. I have one extra pair if someone needs it. See what? There are headphones inside the camera case. You can use that as well. Way to go, Mom. I'd recommend for Classco to have the ones that separate, not the over the ear ones, because you're gonna need to listen to me and also listen to your video. We're using this so we don't have to hear 24 different people's videos. I know that. You still go through media browser and then find your desktop.
So it'll be like this C with me, and it'll say like the type of laptop. C for PC.
All right, so you need to right now we need to go here, and then I would probably go to users, cache, then I would find my desktop, then find a folder. So everybody found their files?
No.
Okay. Who's no over here, Greg? Right here for the users. Go to your desktop. Are you under your profile then? So it should show us right here. That's what it should. Y'all good? All right, we're here. How many of you having problems finding things to your media browser? Okay. Good. All right, so what I want you to do first is let's double click on our interview. So find one of your interviews and double click it till it shows in the source monitor. Hey, if I'm embarrassed, I'm sorry. I was gonna use my own footage, but I didn't collect any footage here, so I figured it'd be easier if I use y'all. What do we think about this frame? It's not bad, right? This isn't a critique, but I want you to think, because I've looked at some of your other footage. First of all, remember your lapel mics. I'd put them on a collar, not on jewelry. I shouldn't see any cords. I've seen that in one of y'all's interviews. The lapel mic cord shouldn't be on the front shirt. That should go through the shirt. And then the only other thing I say is be maybe a little careful to get to the edge, but the head's good. Not bad headroom. It's not a floating head, right? We got some shoulders. So think about that. Just as much as this is just for y'all to practice and use during this part of class, critique your stuff. All right? I'm sure you've all found that in applying some of the skills that we've talked about, it's a little bit easier to say do this than actually doing it, right? Just like it said, you know, bad habits, don't do this. Sure, it's easy to say. All right, so I'm going to listen through. You can scrub through here by moving it. If you press spacebar, it'll play here. You can also play it here. But I like to use spacebar whenever I'm doing my interviews or whenever I'm playing through a timeline. So what I want you to do now is find a section of your video that you of the interview that you like, where they're starting and stopping. So do that. Listen to your interview and do that.
My name is Ashley Draper. I'm a sophomore here at UT.
Are we using names on these videos? This one is a trick question. No, we're not. Right? Why do we do the names and the title and everything? Good. So for editing purposes, when we get back, we know exactly the name, we know how to spell it, and we know what major they were, what their title was. We don't have to worry about searching for anything, right? Or where we wrote it, or we happen to write it on our hand, or whatever reason. So we have this, but right now we don't have to worry about it.
First and foremost, I would tell first year to
All right. Yeah, that's all we're going to do. But it's good for you to listen to the question too, because you'll ask these questions, you'll have maybe 5 interviews, and you'll be like, I have no idea what I asked this person, right? And then you want to figure out, but we should be able to quickly go back to where? Our video script to tell us, can you help them on? To know exactly where they fit in. So cut in before and cut in after. You have 2 functions here on this. We're going to go right before and right after the interview. Okay? So if you press I wherever wherever the playhead is right here. I want to capture that. I'll move it back and I'll press I. That's where it starts. And you see how it highlights? Then I'm going to listen to her response.
I would tell first year students the most important thing is being present in class and not only showing up for your lectures, but also being engaged and making connections with your classmates and your professors.
I'm going to stop. Now I'm going to press O. O the letter, not 0 the number. And now what you'll see is right now, it has just that bit of her where her response started and where that response ended. That's all I'm going to include. And then we're going to go right here and we're going to press insert. And normally it'll work. Mm-hmm. Is anybody having problems with it not inserting? All right, if you're having problems with not inserting on mine, it helped me whenever I first inserted something on my timeline. So you may want to drag something. I drug the second interview on there just to get it started. And then I press insert. So you should be able to click insert here, and it should insert it. If it doesn't, and you have nothing on your timeline, it looks like it made me put something on my timeline before I could insert this. If that's the case, drag something on, get your interview through the insert, and then I'm just going to erase whatever I drug on there. We're good? I'm assuming it's this one, but whenever you see it. Yes, yes. We'll have a lot of flexibility on where things are at. Just get it on your timeline for now. So drag something from your media browser. Yes. So it's not, for some reason, it won't let us drag. Now, move your scrubbing. All right, is everybody here? Okay, so listen, if you click over here, you can drag this anywhere you want. You'll notice that it put it on video 1 and audio 1. You can always still go here after you insert it, listen, and make sure what's on your timeline is what you want. Don't worry about trimming or anything else. We'll go over that step by step. So right now, everybody has their interview, right? The next thing I want us to do, let's see.
Thing is being present in class and not only showing up for your lectures, but also being engaged and making connections with your classmates and your professors.
So it ended fine there. Now pay attention up here real quick. Now say if I had cut this a little short.
Also being engaged and making connections with your classmates.
All right, so I cut this a little short. I want to add back because we haven't made any permanent changes to the actual clip.
First and foremost,
We can add and we can subtract things. So if you go to the edge of the clip, so have it selected, go to the edge when it's white, and you should get this bracket with the red arrow. When you go here, you can click and you can add by pulling and letting go onto the clip. You can also trim. All right, so I got everything that I wanted. So that's the first way, and this is an easy way to trim your clips without making any permanent changes to them. When we start cutting and things like that, that's when you actually start losing stuff on your timeline, and you'd have to reinsert it. So the next thing I want you to do is let's find our B-roll. Now, I want my B-roll to match what's being said, correct? But unfortunately, that may not happen depending on this. Don't worry about that as much right now. With your videos, you should definitely be worrying about that. But right now, let's double click on one of your B-roll clips and bring it into our source monitor. And let's just take a look at it. So we have two options here. First, say I like it all. Just watch this, don't do it. Say I like this all. I want this whole B-roll. I'm going to click it over here in the media browser, drag it, and that's the whole thing. It's going to drag in the audio and the video. The order that it's on in your timeline, that's the order that it'll show. So right now it's showing that my B-roll is on top of my interview. So if I go through, you can see that the B-roll is on top of it, right? And that's cool because what are we going to be doing the most of the time with our interviews? We're going to have B-roll on top, right? But there were some things I didn't like about this one. I wanted to remove some stuff. So I'm going to get rid of it. In our source monitor, let's do the I&O, where we want to start and where we want to end with our B-roll. So I want to start at the beginning. Don't do that there. So cut where you want to start and stop. But on this one, we don't need the audio, okay? So come over here, drag video only, and drag that onto our timeline. So now, if you want to move it where you want to start, so I want Ashley on there for a little bit.
First and foremost, I would tell first year students the most important thing is being present in class and not only showing up for your lectures, but also being engaged and making connections with your classmates and your professors.
Okay, so here. Now, I want the B-roll to end at the same time she ends, just for this purpose. I want us also to be able to zoom in and see things. So we have two options here. First of all, if you come over here, there's handles. If you notice this, if we move our handles over here on the side, that resizes our audio. That can also resize our video so we can see. So you can actually see what's on your timeline. So we can have it like that, right? The second thing is if I want to match this up, if you take a look where my mouse is at, if I double click this, I can enlarge this window itself. I'll come over here with that trimming feature that we talked about, click on the edge of this one, and match it up. You automatically see that it has a guideline that snaps it to the edge of the clip below it. Okay, that snapping feature is really nice. So use it when you can. Once I'm done in this window, I'll double click it again and it minimizes it back. So if we play it,
First and foremost, I would tell first-year students the most important thing is being present in class and not only showing up for your lectures, but also being engaged and making connections with your classmates and your professors.
okay. Are there any questions up to this point? Now, one of the other things that we're going to want usually is maybe have some back music. So I've given you 2 audio clips that you should have downloaded.
Foremost, I would tell first
Let's take a look at those. And you may have to start minimizing these windows over here with these handles so you can see multiple ones. It's smaller on a laptop. You have a bigger you have a desktop, you'll be able to see a little bit more. But let's find that A roll. So audio, and then I want to listen to each one. So pick one of the ones you like. I'm going to use the first one for me. So all I want you to do is click on the one, whatever audio file you want to select. And then I don't want to worry about anything in our source monitor. I actually want the whole thing. So let's take it, click, drag it onto our timeline, and make sure that you put this in audio 2. Do not put it on top of your audio in audio 1 or it'll go over it. But we want to manage these on different audio channels because we want to manipulate them or edit them independently. So let's go ahead and take a listen. And this is too far down. You can select things like I'm doing here by dragging your mouse and moving it all over.
First and foremost, I would tell first-year students the most important thing is being present in class and not only showing up for your lectures.
What you got?
I think there might be something wrong with like, on my, because I'm listening to that, and then I did it, and then on my actual video yesterday, Aaron was video that was recorded in class. I said that the audio is just not very good. And like it's not as clear as that at all. It sounds like the microphone's over here, even though it's like right here, and they're talking like this is like in a room.
All right. Email me and let me know what camera sets are, and I'll look at them. Okay?
Because it sounded just fine when you were actually doing the recording. I heard everything in the headphones. Yeah, sounds like. Yeah.
Okay. So our music's pretty loud, isn't it? So let's do 2 things first. I want us to let's check out the audio quality on our interview first. Then we'll go back and we'll play with the audio quality and volume on our A-roll. So over here, if you take a look at this, and we're on audio 2, you have multiple buttons. I want you to actually press M on audio 2, and that's going to mute audio 2. So right now, in doing that,
First and foremost, I would
I can hear only my interviewee. Is everybody there? In doing that, you should be able to take a look at your volume over here on the right side. This should roughly be in the green. I'd say even yellow is not too bad. If it's in the red, then we need to adjust it. If it's low, we need to adjust it. So on audio 1, let's go up to the top over here where our source monitor is or was, and let's click on audio clip and play it. So our audio 1 right now is showing over there. This master control, if we want to take it down, take it down. If yours is too low, bring it back up. But watch where it's at in terms of color. green. You want to be, I'd say I'd be in the range of a little bit yellow. That way you know the volume's kind of up there, okay? So that's the first thing. Second, let's unmute audio 2 and play through it again. So the first option we have is to go over here in audio 2, bring down the master, where you hear it a little bit there. Now, I'd say let's hold off on not doing that part with our A-roll the way we're using it, because what do we want our music to kind of do? Typically, background music. What do you notice in videos that it does? It fluctuates, right? The volume fluctuates on whether or not someone's talking and whether or not whatever's going on your screen. So we have a couple of options here. What I want you to do is let's zoom in on our audio. Make it bigger using these handles where you can see it. I would also say probably double click to maximize that screen. Before you do that, make sure your audio on 2 is brought back up to 0. So bring your master volume on audio 2, bring that back up, and then let's double click on our timeline window and bring it back like this. Is everybody here? All right, so on the interview, now remember this is important to know where exactly your playhead is on your timeline. All right, so she starts talking there. A little bit before she talks, I want the volume to already start slowly dying down a little bit. So let's go a little bit in front of the interview. And come down here and select your audio 2. And then over here, you should see add or remove keyframe. Slightly before the interview, and I'm gonna go a little bit more because I want a little bit more control. I'm gonna add a keyframe. You should see a little diamonds right here. You can't see it right now. I'm gonna play it. And right as she begins talking, I want to add another keyframe. And so if I move these, you should be able to see right now that there's 2 little diamonds, 2 keyframes. And so what this gives us the ability to do is to break up our audio. So I want to leave the first, well, actually, I would probably still bring down the first one because it's a little loud. So I can click on that first keyframe and bring it down. All right, I'm okay with that volume. So my first keyframe, I brought it down where the audio is kind of normal there. My second keyframe, I want to grab it and I want to drag that way down, and I want to have a little bit of a slope. This slope on it right here shows you how gradual or how quick your audio is going to die down. So if we listen to where it's at right now, all right, so I'd probably have that die down a little bit quicker. But I want to move this back so it's still not an abrupt. And by the time she starts, I want it to be down here. Well, let's keep trying this. This is the thing you're going to have to play with to see how it sounds. Okay, I'm good with there. So I want you to get your audio where it's at. Now, I will tell you this, that we're going to play with some stuff in terms of we still have to add an intro. So there's going to be things that are going to go before this clip. So exactly where we put these keyframes may change. In the event that happens, just go and select it and delete your keyframes, click them, and then press delete, and it'll go back to normal. So what I want you to do is I want you to leave it where it's right here. This is where we're going to leave off for today. Double click this over here, this window, to minimize it. And I want to talk about one last thing before we leave today. Go back and find your interview footage. So make sure it's selected. So again, there's that white box around it. Go to File and go to Get Properties For and go to File right here. And you should get this dialog that comes up. One of the biggest things that I want y'all to pay attention to is to change, look at your frames per second. Here it's called frame rate. The typical frame rate that we use in the US is 30, or it reads usually on devices 29.97. And this just simply says how fast the frames will be presented on the screen. In the US, the minimum we want is 30. That way we have clear footage and nothing skipping. All right, 60 is a little bit better, but right now we use 30 and the majority of your phones will capture on 30. I'm telling you this now because when you capture footage and you may use different devices, you need to make sure before you capture that film that they're all in the same frames per second, same frame rate. If they're different frame rates, you're going to start having some problems when it comes to editing. So check your devices. We'll go over we'll look on the cameras to see exactly where you can see what it is. And on most of your smart devices, you'll see that it'll capture after 30 frames per second. Any questions? All right, that's a lot today. I want you to do a file save. So make sure you save the work that we have. We're going to pick up back right where we left off. I want you delete your keyframes before we leave today, though, too. So those keyframes that we put over here on the bottom, click the little diamonds, and I want you to delete them. I already deleted mine, but I want you to make sure that you delete them. All right, make sure everything's put back into the camera boxes, and then meet Abby back at the Alec closet so you can return your cameras. I'll put this up on YouTube, on Canvas so you can look at it if you have any questions. I'll see y'all Thursday.
Yeah, our audio is trash. Can't hear anything. It's just mouths moving.
Okay. Let's put them up here.
I know it's kind of late, but do you remember?